Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is a brilliant day to unravel some of the darkest mysteries lurking right beneath the surface of Fairmont Crest. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's just jump straight into the madness. I want to talk about the absolute masterclass in psychological warfare that we are currently witnessing. I am talking, of course, about Heather Armstrong, or Heather Wallach, or, as the criminal underworld whispers in absolute terror, the Impaler. There is something profoundly chilling about the way this woman operates. When danger approaches, she doesn't panic. She doesn't run. She simply orchestrates a symphony of chaos from the shadows. She is a mastermind of mindset, a puppet master who manipulates the psychology of everyone tied to her past. She uses pawns and minions to do her dirty work without ever leaving a single solitary fingerprint behind. I can't help but feel that we are only seeing the very tip of the iceberg when it comes to her true capabilities. Let's pivot for a second to the DMV situation. We know one of the main reasons Heather recently made her presence felt at the Department of Motor Vehicles traces all the way back to one man, Smitty. Our relentless investigative journalist is on an absolute crusade, and I keep coming back to the thought that his ambition is going to get him or someone he loves severely hurt. Smitty is not satisfied with just taking down the local plasma ring operation inside the DMV. No, that is child's play to him now. He wants to burn the entire corrupt system to the ground. He wants to unmask the Impaler. He recently had that intense conversation with his husband, Martin, where he flat out refused the idea of a vacation. He told Martin in no uncertain terms that he is staying right here in town until he finds the absolute truth. It seems like Smitty has crossed the line from professional curiosity into a highly dangerous obsession. And frankly, I could be wrong, but I don't think he fully comprehends the monster he is trying to drag out into the light. Naturally, Heather is furious about this. Smitty's highly successful series of articles exposing the red market is a massive thorn in her side. It is generating way too much heat. An international crime syndicate relies on anonymity, and Smitty is shining a giant, blinding spotlight right on her life's work. The truth might be more complicated than it looks, but I think Heather genuinely feels insulted by this local reporter thinking he can outsmart her. So, what does a mastermind do when a journalist gets too close? She doesn't just put a hit out on him that's too messy, too obvious. Instead, she decides to play with her food. She decides to toy with Martin and Smitty. She wants to distract them, to make them chase their own tails, and to turn their investigation into a psychological nightmare. There is something about this that just doesn't sit right with me, guys. The way Heather plans to mess with Martin and Smitty feels deeply personal and incredibly calculated. She knows that Martin is a politician, a man who relies heavily on public perception, trust, and stability. She knows Smitty is driven by his intellect and his desperate need to solve the puzzle. By toying with them, she is attacking the very foundation of their marriage and their respective careers. What if she starts planting false evidence? What if she manipulates Martin's political rivals to create a scandal that forces Smitty to drop the red market piece just to save his husband's career? I can't help but feel that Heather's retaliation is going to be a slow, agonizing burn rather than a quick explosion. She wants them to feel paranoid in their own home. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, we have Joey sitting in his casino, completely on edge, and he has every right to be. Randy, who has been quietly tailing Heather on Joey's strict orders, has just delivered a very intriguing update. Now, Randy is no saint. but he is a survivor and he knows how to blend into the background. I am almost certain that Randy has witnessed the bizarre web Heather is spinning. It's highly possible that Randy is the one who informs Joey about Heather's shadowy interactions with Martin, with Smitty, and most importantly, with Andre. Imagine Joey's reaction to hearing that his estranged psychopathic sister is suddenly orbiting the town's most prominent citizens. Joey's primary goal has always been to protect Vanessa. But how do you protect someone from a ghost who can manipulate people like chess pieces on a board? This brings us to the absolute powder keg of the situation, Andre. Andre is once again being forced to stand face to face with his incredibly complex, incredibly dark past with Heather. We finally have confirmation that Heather came to this town specifically to reconnect with Andre. They share a history in Europe, a history filled with secrets, danger, and likely a whole lot of illegal activity. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but the vibe I get is that they were partners in crime, maybe even romantically entangled during Andre's wild, globe-trotting days. Heather remembers the Andre who lived on the edge, the playboy who traveled the world with no strings attached, no responsibilities, and certainly no wife tying him down. So when Heather looks at the man Andre is today, she is genuinely baffled. This domesticated, married, faithful version of Andre just doesn't compute in her brain. She sees a wild wolf pretending to be a golden retriever. To Heather, Andre's marriage to Danny is nothing more than a temporary costume he is wearing. But here is the terrifying part. Ultimately, she doesn't care if he loves Danny or not. She doesn't care about his new life. She only cares about how she can use him. Heather wants Andre to collaborate with her. She wants to use his insider access, his connection to Martin's campaign, and his proximity to the Dupree family to execute her grand plan of toying with Smitty and Martin. She wants him to be her Trojan horse. And here is the specific demand that made my jaw drop. Heather wants Andre to take a highly incriminating photo, one that he personally captured in the past, and send it anonymously to Smitty's investigative office. What is in this photo? Is it a picture that ties a major political figure to the red market? Is it a photo that proves Dr. Leah Whitmore wasn't acting alone? Or is it something even more sinister, something that could ruin Martin's career and completely derail Smitty's focus? By forcing Andre to send it anonymously, Heather ensures that she remains completely untraceable while simultaneously throwing a massive grenade into Smitty's lap. It is a brilliant, evil move to distract the investigation and shift the heat onto someone else. But here is where the story takes a massive turn. Andre, the man who has been sweating bullets and looking over his shoulder for months, finally decides to plant his feet. He believes that the time for running is over. It is time to face his past head on. Andre looks the impaler in the eye and flat out refuses her demand. He will not send the photo. He will not be her pawn. I keep coming back to the thought of how much courage or perhaps sheer desperate panic it takes to say no to a woman who runs an international crime syndicate. Andre knows exactly what she is capable of. He knows the body she has left in her wake. Yet, he draws a line in the sand. As you can imagine, Heather is absolutely furious. We are talking about a woman who does not hear the word no. When Andre refuses, her carefully constructed, calm demeanor shatters. She lashes out at him with a terrifying intensity. Heather is a master manipulator, but when her manipulation fails, she resorts to raw, unadulterated intimidation. I can only imagine the threats she hurled at him in that hotel room. She probably reminded him of every single illegal thing they ever did together in London. She probably threatened to expose him to the authorities, to his new family, to everyone. But Andre holds his ground, arguing that her plan is just too dangerous. The risk of blowback is too high. Why is Andre doing this? Why risk the wrath of the Impaler? Because of Danny. Despite all the secrets, despite all the tension in their marriage right now, Andre is fiercely protective of his wife. He knows that if he plays Heather's game, he opens the door for Heather to drag Danny into the crossfire. He refuses to let Danny fall into the psychological web that Heather is spinning. If you ask me, this is the ultimate test of Andre's character. He is willing to sacrifice his own safety and potentially his own freedom if his past crimes are exposed, just to keep Danny safe from the Armstrong family madness. It's a tragic, beautiful, and incredibly dangerous decision. But let's think about the ripple effect of this refusal. Heather is not going to just pack her bags and fly back to Europe because Andre said no. If anything, his defiance has just put a massive target on his own back. If Andre won't send the photo, who will she use next? Will she find a way to manipulate Randy? Will she bypass Andre entirely and drop the photo on Smitty's desk herself, making sure it looks like Andre was the one who leaked it? That would be the ultimate revenge, framing Andre for the leak, thereby destroying his life in Fairmont Crest while still achieving her goal of distracting Smitty. The truth might be more complicated than it looks, and Heather always has a backup plan. And we absolutely cannot forget about Joey in all of this. Joey now knows, thanks to Randy's update, that Heather is circling Andre, Martin, and Smitty. Joey hates Smitty, sure, but he hates his sister even more. Will Joey step in to stop Heather's plot just to spite her? Or will he sit back and watch the chaos unfold, hoping it takes out his enemies in the process? There's something about this that just doesn't sit right with me. Joey is too quiet right now. He is gathering ammunition. When the collision between Joey and Heather finally happens, it is going to shake the very foundations of this town. As I sit here trying to piece this all together, I am left with a deeply uncomfortable realization. Andre might have won the battle by refusing to send that photo, but he has undoubtedly started a war. Heather's ego is bruised, her criminal empire is under threat from Smitty, and she is currently trapped in a town full of people who are slowly waking up to her true identity. A cornered predator is the most dangerous kind. What if Heather decides that psychological games are no longer enough? What if she decides it's time to start crossing names off her list permanently? I could be wrong, but I feel like the clock is ticking for Smitty, for Andre, and for anyone else standing in the Impaler's way. Who will be the first to fall when her patience finally runs out?